Ever feel like some scientific breakthroughs are straight out of sci-fi? Like someone invented a warp drive in a secret lab somewhere, and we're just not in on it.
What's truly captivating about this topic is how a seemingly unrelated law from the 1940s might hold the key to some of today's most fascinating mysteries.
Well, today's deep dive is going to make you wonder, because we're looking at the McMahon Act. That's the one that put a lid on atomic secrets after World War II. But guess what? It's still shaping what we know or don't know about potentially mind-blowing tech. Even stuff like anti-gravity and those mysterious UAPs everyone's talking about.
You're probably familiar with its goal, controlling nuclear knowledge after World War II.
Okay, you're going to have to elaborate on that one. What could a law from the 1940s possibly have to do with cutting-edge tech today?
Well, we're talking about the Atomic Energy Act of 1946, better known as the McMahon Act. But here's where it gets really interesting. The McMahon Act didn't just lock down atomic secrets, it established a blueprint for secrecy that extended far beyond nuclear technology.
So you're saying that this law, created to control information about nuclear weapons, could inadvertently pave the way for keeping other types of advanced technology under wraps.
Precisely. Think of it as a framework for classifying and controlling information deemed vital to national security. And you can see how this framework, originally intended for nuclear technology, might have been applied to other groundbreaking discoveries.
That's a fascinating and slightly unsettling thought. Are you suggesting that technologies potentially as revolutionary as, say, anti-gravity might be subject to this same level of secrecy?
Imagine this. The U.S. develops a revolutionary technology, something that could redefine physics as we know it. Now, picture the McMahon Act's legacy of secrecy looming large. It's not a far stretch to consider that such a discovery might be deemed too sensitive to share, its existence known only to a select few.
Okay, now you're just making me think of every sci-fi movie where the government is hiding groundbreaking technology. But seriously, how plausible is that scenario? Could something like anti-gravity actually exist outside of the realm of fiction?
While it sounds like something straight out of science fiction, anti-gravity has been a serious area of theoretical study for decades. Einstein's theories themselves hinted at the possibility of manipulating gravity. It's not entirely implausible to think that, given enough time and research, significant breakthroughs might have been made. Breakthroughs that, if they were to exist, would undoubtedly be subject to the strictest levels of secrecy.
It's a lot to process. A law created to manage the aftermath of the atomic bomb might be the very thing preventing us from knowing about technologies that could revolutionize our world.
And it gets even more intriguing when we consider recent events. Think about the government's evolving stance on UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. They've gone from denying their existence to acknowledging them, even releasing videos of encounters.
Right, and let's be honest, that's a pretty huge shift from where things were just a few years ago.
Exactly. But here's the catch. While they acknowledge these UAPs and admit that some demonstrate capabilities beyond our current understanding, they remain incredibly tight-lipped about potential explanations.
It's like they're saying, yes, something strange is happening, but we're not telling you what. And that just feels more speculation and conspiracy theories.
Precisely. And this is where the McMahon Act's long shadow becomes especially apparent. The possibility, however remote, that the government might possess knowledge of technology far exceeding our current understanding, combined with the culture of secrecy fostered by the McMahon Act, creates a breeding ground for speculation.
So what you're saying is, if we ever hope to get to the bottom of these mysteries, we need to understand how this culture of secrecy operates and what might motivate the government to keep such advancements hidden from public view.
You've hit the nail on the head. We need to delve deeper into the potential implications of such advanced technology, exploring both the risks and benefits of disclosure.
It's mind-blowing to think that technology advanced enough to explain UAPs might actually exist. But if it does, wouldn't someone have blown the whistle by now? Leaked documents, insider accounts, something?
That's a common misconception about government secrecy. It's not just about hiding information, it's about controlling it, compartmentalizing it so effectively that even those with high security clearances might only have a tiny piece of the puzzle.
So you're saying that someone could be working on a top-secret project, maybe even on something related to anti-gravity, but they might not even realize the full scope of what they're involved in.
Exactly. And even if they had suspicions, the potential consequences of leaking classified information are severe enough to make most people think twice. We're talking about career-ending repercussions, even criminal charges.
That makes sense. But it still feels like we're talking about a world where the truth is reserved for a select few, a world where knowledge especially knowledge with the potential to reshape our world, is treated as a weapon.
It's a world where the lines between safeguarding national security and maintaining a well-informed public can become incredibly blurred. The very act of classifying information, even for the most valid of reasons, can create an information vacuum. And that vacuum is often filled with speculation, mistrust, and sometimes even fear.
And that fear can be manipulated, can it? Used
Yeah.
to justify even greater secrecy and control. It creates a vicious cycle.
Precisely. And this is where the conversation needs to shift. It's not enough to simply acknowledge the possibility of advanced technology or even the existence of UAPs. We need to start talking about the criteria for declassification, about the process by which information transitions from being classified to being shared with the public.
Because right now, it feels like that process is shrouded in mystery, dictated by forces we don't understand and have no control over.
Exactly. And that lack of transparency erodes trust and fuels speculation. What are the metrics, the thresholds that determine when and how information is released? These are questions we should be asking, demanding answers to.
Okay, let's say, hypothetically, that there is a group of people within the government who want to be more transparent about these issues. What kind of challenges would they face?
The first hurdle would be overcoming the inertia of decades of secrecy. The McMahon Act, while passed in a specific context, created a culture of classification that permeates many levels of government.
So, even if there was a genuine desire to be more open, the system itself might resist those changes.
In a sense, yes. There are established protocols, chains of command, and a deeply ingrained belief that certain types of information are inherently dangerous if they fall into the wrong hands.
It's like trying to turn a giant ship around.
Yeah,
It takes time, effort, and a whole lot of people pushing in the same direction.
and even then, there's no guarantee of success. There would be pushback from those who benefit from the status quo, from those who believe that some secrets are simply too important to risk revealing.
It sounds like a daunting task, to say the least. But if we don't start asking these questions, demanding more transparency, aren't we just surrendering to a future where knowledge is controlled by a select few? It feels like we're talking about two fundamentally different ways of looking at the world. On one hand, you have those who believe that knowledge, especially knowledge with the potential to upend the status quo, should be tightly controlled.
And reconciling those two viewpoints is no easy feat. It requires a nuanced understanding of the complexities involved, a recognition that there's no one-size-fits-all answer. There will always be information that, for legitimate reasons of national security, needs to be kept under wraps.
But where do we draw that line? Who gets to decide what information is too dangerous to share, and what information, even if it challenges our current understanding of the world, deserves to see the light of day?
That's the million-dollar question. And it's a question that deserves far more attention than it currently receives. We've been operating under the shadow of the McMahon Act for decades, and while the world has changed dramatically in that time, our approach to secrecy has remained remarkably consistent.
So what can we do about it? How do we move towards a more balanced approach, one that recognizes the need for both security and transparency?
It starts with awareness, with recognizing that the decisions made behind closed doors, often based on information we're not even privy to, have a profound impact on our lives. It's about demanding greater accountability from our leaders, asking tough questions about the criteria for classification and the process for declassification.
It's about saying, we understand the need for secrecy in certain matters of national security, but we also demand transparency and accountability when it comes to decisions that affect us all.
Precisely. And it's about fostering a culture of critical thinking, one where we don't blindly accept official narratives, but instead engage with these issues in a thoughtful and informed way.
Because at the end of the day, the pursuit of knowledge, even knowledge that challenges our preconceived notions, is what drives progress. It's what propels us forward as a society.
And who knows, maybe, just maybe, by asking these tough questions, by demanding greater transparency, we might even uncover some of those groundbreaking technologies that have been kept hidden from view for far too long.
That's a thought-provoking note to end on. As always, we want to hear from you, our listeners. What are your thoughts on the balance between secrecy and transparency? Do you believe the government might be hiding knowledge of advanced technologies? Leave us your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the world's most fascinating information.